Now I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I ever heard of Skinwalker Ranch, but I have heard of Skinwalkers, and that was enough to make me want to watch this video. So with that being said, what's smoking all my dragons? Divine Righteous Almighty Greats Overachieving Never Slacking. We got Joe Rogan details his experience at Skinwalker Ranch. Original link will be in the description, and this was posted by University of JRE. So here we go.
Ever get me to come to Skinwalker Ranch? I said, know that I've got a plan. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I said, I will not be the slowest runner. Okay. However, I will not be the fastest runner because I don't know what's really going on there. I don't want to run from one thing into another. So I'm going to make sure I have an escape plan.
I went to Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh, you did?
Wow.
Yeah.
How did that go?
Well, I was doing it for a
Look at Joe Rogan. I went to Skinwalker Ranch. Like, just random. I went to Skinwalker Ranch. You don't got to worry about all that. I can tell you the details of it. Whew.
television show, and we interviewed a bunch of people that lived there. And one guy, there was a lot of people that they wanted to be interviewed. And then when we got there, they chickened out. It seemed like there might be some drug use going on in the surrounding areas. A few people seemed like a little on tilt, but I think that's a good part of America.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people. You could find some packets of people in America that are just doing drugs. So I wouldn't say that was what it was, but this one guy that I talked to didn't seem like that at all. He seemed very respectable. I don't remember what he did, but he was a very smart guy, blue-collar guy, and lived in this very modest house, and he had this story of this thing that flew into his yard and through his house. And he said it was a small orb, and he said it seemed to be communicating with him. And
wow,
this guy didn't have any other bullshit stories. He didn't have any
just
claims of just this one experience that he said was beautiful. He said it was incredible, that this thing seemed like it was alive. It seemed like it was communicating with him. And it went right through the walls, and then it went through the wall again and disappeared.
I've had a similar case. So every March I go to Seaside, Oregon, because they have a paranormal conference, and I'm not into the paranormal stuff, but my friends are. So I want to listen and I want to learn, because this is me trying to get over my fear of going in there. And
you have a fear of paranormal, or a fear of being around the people that believe in paranormal?
No, of the paranormal, because of certain things that I've heard from when I was a kid, and you have to overcome some of those childhood fears and stuff like that.
Okay.
So when I was there, I was talking about my app and all this other stuff, and these two.
That was a good way that was a good little some advice he gave there about getting over fears. That's brave. That's brave that he would go to something that he was, that subconsciously, all in the subconscious he was terrified of. He wants to face that. That says a lot about his character.
Asian ladies were watching me walk on the stage, and I was like, why are they looking at me like that? And I was like, is my flies down or something? What did I do, And as soon as I stepped off the stage, they said, Mr. Logan, what are they? What are they? And I was like, what do you mean? She pulls out on her phone the most beautiful, pristine picture of an orb sitting in a doorway. And I'm like, what happened there? And she said, it was my birthday. And she said, all my family was there. And she said, but I got tired, so I was laying down. And she said, I heard like this electrical discharge going on. And she said it came right through her wall, started floating across her room. She said it got to her doorway. She screamed, and all her family came, and the son, I guess it was, took the picture of the orb. And I was so amazed by her story, I even forgot to ask her to give me a copy of the picture.
How long ago was this?
This was like 2 years ago.
So fairly modern phone.
Yeah. It was an iPhone. She was. They were from Northern California, and they drove up to this thing, and I'm just like, so what happened? She said it actually sat there and did this like a heartbeat, getting bigger and smaller. But it sounded just like your story of what happened to this other.
Yeah, he was the
individual.
only guy that was compelling. There was a bunch of other people that had goofy stories of bulletproof wolves that appeared.
That's crazy. That I feel like I seen that in a movie with the orb. Like, I just can't. But I feel like I seen that somewhere. Definitely some Stephen King type stuff.
Out of the mist and like, okay. They just seem like some people just wanted to be on TV, which is normal, right? You
Right.
show up with cameras, people
Yeah.
tell stories. And this is another show that I worked on once. It was called Game Show in My Head, and this is pretty funny. We told people. So there was the game show was we would take a contestant. The contestant knew that they were going to pull pranks on people, but they didn't know what the prank was going to be. And so we had a piece in their ear, and we would put them out in the public. And my thing was that I had to tell them that they are a news reporter and that someone had just seen a UFO and had an encounter with an alien right there in Hollywood, but the person who was the witness took off. Would you be willing to go on camera and say it was you? And everybody said yes. They all did. And people had crazy stories. They talked about being abducted and being on the ship and experience, and they were communicating with me. They just fully made up stories. And that was an eye-opener for me. I was like, wow, you put a camera on people. They just are so hyped to be on TV that just bullshit you.
Yeah, they can.
Because
that's
the
pretty good.
guy who was in on it was shocked too. Because he was like, I can't believe that these people just started lying.
Yeah, when you get aggrandized like that, that's where you kind of have people that do that. It's just to aggrandize or enlarge themselves.
Sure, everybody wants to, especially when you put a camera on people.
But then you get with other people, like the whistleblowers I know, they've
Yeah.
pretty much given up everything, like me, you know.
But this guy was not interested in, much attention. He just wanted to tell us his story, and he was a regular dude.
Yeah.
Like we talked about all kinds of stuff. He had a big trout on his wall. It was he had a trout. Like when they make trophies out of fish, they don't really make trophies anymore. What they do is they take a photo and the measurements, and then they make like a plastic version of that fish that looks exactly like it. That's how they do it. But this guy had like a real trophy fish that he had mounted. I'm like, they don't even do that anymore. So I started asking him questions and.
Game Show in My Head.
Yeah, that's it. But a long time ago. But the point is, this guy was a sincere dude. He was telling me how he caught the fish. When I'm asking people questions about stuff, I want to know how you think. When I'm talking to some guy that tells me he had an encounter with an orb, I want to hear what you talk about. Like, how do you talk about you at work? How do you talk about you with your kids? How do you treat your dog? How do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to like get a gauge of this guy. He seems super sincere. Just a regular good guy, very accommodating, like very friendly.
Crazy. But overall, that's what sucks about a lot of paranormal stories, because there is a lot of people who do gas things up, exaggerate, and tell lies for whatever reason, whether that's for some type of fame or whatever. But it just sucks, because then it makes all the people who are sincere, you never know. I've heard of the Skinwalkers actually from my friends in Canada. They tell me that that's like a known thing, with amongst the Indian reservations, and there's a lot of wild stories out there. That's how I know about that. But man, oh man, it's a wild world. It's like, even when sometimes I'll be on YouTube and I like search like Bigfoot stuff just when I'm bored, and you could tell which ones is like, it's like, come on, man, you can tell which ones be BS. That's all I'm gonna say. And that does ruin it for people who may be genuine or have genuine experiences. But with that being said, you just got to use your discernment and, be careful out there with people. With that being said, original link in the description. I'll be back with more soon. Much love.